Hello and welcome back to So You Want to Start a Science podcast. You're listening to episode 3 of 6. In this episode, we'll explore another essential aspect of podcast production, developing accessible and inclusive content. Accessibility and inclusivity are important in many aspects of life. Podcasting is no different. By embracing different perspectives and experiences, you can not only enrich the content you produce, but also expand your audience and ultimately achieve greater impact. Here's Anne from The Root of the Science, talking about the importance of diversity for representation and positive leadership.
The reason I started my podcast was because I did not see visible role models of Africans being shown on media. And even when I was growing up, there was that stereotypic image of what a scientist looked like. So the whole aspect of this podcast was to amplify Africans in STEM so that we can be included in the conversation, so that people can see that, Africans, wherever they are, not only staying in Africa, are doing really fundamental work in the science space. So inclusivity is like key. Another important thing it's to see women, young people, because again, when you were growing up, science was such an old people thing, but now there's so many young people who are doing really amazing things, and women, people of color. So it's a huge thing. And even we also had to start and have this conversation that, okay, we're trying to be inclusive with all these other parts. Simple things such as creating, subtitles for people who are hard of hearing. That's also a step of inclusivity. So it's such a big thing in what we do. And it's honestly the driver of what we're doing, because I saw that was like a fundamental problem. And that's why I believe the work that we do actually exists.
And here's David from Papa PhD talking about the importance of inclusivity for a podcast success.
In my case, post-PhD stories, there's a lot of them out there. So of course I could be just talking to CEOs, I could be just talking to male, white, etc. people. There's enough of them to fill the podcast, but I really want, because I also want the podcast to always bring something new. I actually need to bring diversity in, or else I'd be telling the same story week after week.
Now that we understand why inclusivity matters, let's move on to discuss some techniques for achieving these goals. 1. Invite a range of guests or co-hosts. Make a conscious effort to bring guests from various backgrounds and disciplines. This not only provides diverse viewpoints, but also helps showcase the richness of scientific inquiry. 2. Research and highlight underrepresented topics. Different topics are important to different groups of people. Dive into topics that are often overlooked to increase the inclusivity of your series. This not only elevates marginalised voices, but also educates your audience about critical issues in the community that they might not be aware of. 3. Use inclusive language. Be mindful of your language choices. Avoid jargon or technical terms that might not fit your audience. Instead, aim for clarity and understanding. Oh, and above all, be mindful and respectful with the words you use. And here's David again, talking about how he uses his language skills to his podcast's advantage.
One of the a little bit crazy things I decided in terms of, as a podcaster, to do since the beginning was to make it a bilingual podcast. So I think, let's say 2/3 of the episodes will be in English, 1/3 in French. And I do not do the same interview in 2 languages. So what happens is I will invite guests that are English speaking and do an episode, and then I'll invite a guest that's French speaking and do an episode. I don't then re-edit or translate, etc. I'm just giving space and showcasing the diversity we have here in Canada. There's 2 languages, and specifically here in Quebec and Montreal. And what happens is that some weeks it's a conversation in French, some weeks it's a conversation in English. So I'm not doubling the work. I do need to, and that's my own specificity, I need to be bilingual myself because I need to be writing some content in English and doing some promotion in English, and then some in French. And it just so happens that I have the skills for that.
So, if you have the skills, podcasting in multiple languages doesn't have to mean extra work, and it can confer a significant advantage for your podcast. 4. Encourage community interaction. Allow your audience to engage and contribute. This could be through Q&A segments, listener feedback, or featuring community members in your episodes. This not only supports inclusion, but also offers great diversity benefits in the content you create. Finding diverse guest speakers can be easier than you might think. In fact, you might have already met folks at conferences and university campuses. Here are some other great places to look for diverse guests. Social media. Platforms like X, formerly Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram can all connect you with potential contributors who are doing exciting work either in science or science communication. Other podcasts, magazines, or books. Listen to other science podcasts and read relevant magazines or books. You'll be able to identify experts who regularly engage with media and might be willing to offer you a contribution. This can also be a great way to benefit from the following that other science communicators achieve through media interactions. Almost anywhere else, diverse voices can be found in various unexpected places, so keep an eye open and explore the world around you. Now, let's discuss ways to enhance the accessibility of your podcast. Avoiding technical language and jargon is essential if you're aiming to reach a broader audience. Additionally, multilingual options can be helpful if you're trying to communicate across certain borders. That said, don't rely on AI or Google Translate without fact-checking translations. Get advice from a native or proficient speaker if you can. The last thing you'd want to do is accidentally spread misinformation. Transcripts can also prove really useful, as can captioning if you use video. These can help enhance the podcast experience for audiences who prefer to read along. It can also help support accessibility for those who are hearing impaired. As we wrap up this episode, here's a quick interactive activity. Take a moment to make a list of scientific words or jargon that your target audience might struggle to understand. Keep this list handy while you're recording to help you stay accountable and to help you avoid using difficult language unnecessarily. That brings us to the end of episode 3 of So You Want to Start a Science Podcast. We hope this discussion on creating accessible and inclusive content inspires you to think critically about how you engage your audience. Don't forget, check out the Your Digital Mentor podcast for additional resources. In our next episode, we'll explore practical tools and strategies for recording and editing your podcast. Thanks for listening.